Hello, hello. Hello everyone, how are you? This is Cantor Gaston Bogomolni. We are broadcasting from, I hope you can hear me. We are broadcasting from North Miami Beach, Vector Avenue Rock campus. And I hope everyone is hearing and listening. And let's see if the camera is okay. Let me just clean it up a little bit. I hope it goes well. It's still a little blurry. I don't know why. Do you see blurry as well? It's just me. Okay, I hope it is okay. Sorry, we have to go straight to Facebook today, live on Facebook instead of going through the regular Zoom. But here we are, and today we're going to be talking about this is conversations with the clergy. This is my space, and every Friday we'd like to prep for Shabbat. We'd like to talk about different things that are related to mindfulness, things that are related to Musar, working on our own character traits, and how we can support ourselves, or how better than that, how actually the parasha of the week, the weekly portion of the Torah, can help us become better, and we can deepen a little bit on that, so we can have a better prep for Shabbat as well. So today is Parashat Vayishlach, and the story that we get is it's the famous story. There are three famous stories in this one, but one is that this is going to be to the encounter or the reconciliation at the first time that Yaakov, who later in this parasha also will become Israel by fighting with the man, or fighting with the angel, fighting or wrestle with the angel, wrestle with someone, will become Israel instead of Jacob. So his blessing is his name is changed. But besides all that, we have the story of the encounter of these two brothers, these two twins, Esau, and Jacob. Jacob is petrified, and it says there in the Torah that he's petrified. Also by Vayishlach, he sent out messengers, and he sent out gifts, and he really doesn't know exactly what to do, but he is petrified. And it happens, when you are remorse and you've done something that is not so good. It happens that we get remorse, and we get afraid, or we are afraid of the outcome of what is going to happen, what is going to be, what we are about to encounter now, to face reality, especially the person that you have harmed, or you have lied, or you have betrayed, or you have deceived, and that's not, it's not uncommon. In other words, it is common that you feel that way because you feel guilty, you feel remorse, and you feel regretful of what you have done. So my question today is, and the conversation of today is, what does it mean to become Israel? So we know here that Yaakov wrestles with the angel. So let me read here. Very good. So we know that Jacob is at night. He's wrestling with this man. A lot of comments about whether that man was his own self. It was the angel of Esau. It was a real man. It was an angel? So there are a lot of commentaries, but my whole deal today is not really about specifically who he wrestled with. What we know is that he was Jacob, and then his name was changed to Israel. That's already telling us a lot of things. First of all, we have changes of names constantly, in the Torah. We know of Abraham becomes Abraham. We know Sarai becomes Sarah. Later on, we'll see different changes, and we talk about a little bit about that when we was about the Abraham story. We talk about different characters in the Torah and the Tanakh, in the Jewish Bible, in a Hebrew Bible that became a different name. Now, this one is a huge change of name, and because also entails this whole episode, right? That is so impactful in this story, that his name is changed literally for good. Now, there is a commentary here, that we know, it's a famous commentary that says that when the angel, concluded fighting with Jacob, and his name was changed from Yaakov to Israel, right? The commentary is that he ascended spiritually. He elevated Jacob, or Jacob elevated himself. That's why he acquired a new name. So there's a lot of symbolism here, and things that we can retrieve and we can take from this story. What does it mean to be elevated? What does it mean that I'm now in a higher level, spiritually talking about? What does it really mean to be Israel now, to become Israel? So the sages, throughout the history, they have come up with a lot of different explanations of what the name Israel might mean. So one of the things is that Israel represents the whole thing. What does it mean, the whole thing? Israel, if you look at it, the Yud, right, is Yud, Sin, Resh, Aleph, Lamed. So we have the Yud, which is for Isaac and Yaakov as well, right? So each of these letters will represent now a patriarch and also a matriarch. So we have Yud for Yaakov and Isaac and Yitzchak. Then we have the Shin, or the Sin, that would be Sarah, right? Then we have the Resh, that represents Rachel and also Rivka. And then we have the Aleph, that represents Abraham, the Aleph. And then we have the Lamed, which symbolizes or represents Leah. So all of a sudden, in the name Israel, we have everything, all our patriarchs and all our matriarchs. And also, we know that Israel represents the 12 tribes, all the children of Yaakov. In other words, when we think about Israel, we are saying that we are symbolized, or Israel entails now the sacredness, the holiness, the elevation, the wisdom, the experience, the teachings that we can get from now our ancestors. Remember, the patriarchs and the matriarchs they are people who symbolize so many things. In other words, symbolizes the beginning of our journey, the beginning, the lineage, the connection of thousands of years. And the tribes also represent so many different things. So other people, Kabbalists will say that when you think about Israel, you can really connect now with the patriarchs, and when you can connect with the matriarchs, and you can connect with everything that is Israel. Now, my big question remains, right? What does it mean to become Israel? Great. Everyone says he got elevated. Some people would say, for example, that Jacob had to work so hard. He had to work something hard, really hard, about himself in order to deserve this change in his name, to deserve to become the representation of the patriarchs and the matriarchs, the avot and imaot, to become that whole thing. What is it that Jacob has done? according to you, that made him to deserve the change of his name. So one of the first things that I'm checking, that everything is working fine here. One of the first things. This is conversations with the clergy. Good. This is working perfectly. So one of the first things that that we know from this parasha is that something gets changed. Not only his name, but in his behavior. He's terrified, yes. There's a lot of hatred, right? I mean, this encounter is the representation of hatred, of the hatred from Esau to Jacob, and maybe the fear from Jacob to Esau. But the medieval Kabbalists and mystics, the mystics says that there's a recurrence in people every time we arrive to this parasha, that we get to focus so much into this hatred. Yes, Esau had, hatred, all the 400 people that he had, that came with him, and he came to kill Jacob, and he came really to revenge, and he came to really, right, saying, this guy is not going to come out alive from what he has done to me. And remember also that Esau also comes. So there's so much. Esau also, married with the daughters, of Ishmael, and I mean, it's a lot of different things that only leads us, right? All these things lead us to think that Esau, Ishmael, and everything that has to do with the other sons that are not Isaac, that are not Jacob, right? The ones that are not our so-called patriarchs. Those other kids, right? The other children are to be the ones who are deceived, or the ones who hate us, or the ones who represents today the Arab world and the Muslims. The question is, why focusing so much in what is the hatred? What is the part that is so negative about that? And why cannot, this is a question even already including in the questions from even from the mystics, that why cannot we focus rather in the part that Esau hugs his brother Jacob and kiss him? So then in the Torah we know that we have dots on top of the word that he kissed him, because they say in a traditional exegesis, in a traditional commentary that he didn't really mean it, or he really was going to give him the Dracula, canine, right? The the teeth there, convert him into a vampire, but rather he didn't. So as much as people or the sages or the scribes, when they wrote the dots into the word to kiss, rather than thinking he is deceiving, he's not truthful, he's not honest in his behavior, rather than all that, why don't we really for once focus on he kissed him? He could have killed him. I mean, he betrayed his brother. He was stolen. He was taken advantage of. So he had all the rights even to be mad and to be upset and disappointed and to be totally, even to hate his brother. But rather than thinking about, oh my God, this guy is crazy, he is a hunter, why don't we focus, at least for today, in the love that emerged, even from his hatred, how his darkness, let's talk about, in spiritual language, how his darkness, his klipot, his husks of hatred became or converted, transformed and transcended that feeling into become something deeper, into become loving kindness, chesed, and love. So if we focus today in all that Esau had prior to this encounter, we ourselves will also will focus on that. We will probably get that energy as well. I would suggest that today, at least, we'll think about deeper on this effort. Just think about yourself. Forget about Esau for 1 second. Esau and Jacob are just symbols for us who are teaching us always something. So think for a second, for a minute. Is there anyone still in your life that you still have something, that you still have a little, or even a lot of grudge? They still holding grudge of something someone done to you, and you hate that person. Even if you don't like to say the word hate, maybe you don't like that person, but you cannot have that person around you. Maybe it's whatever it is, you might know better why. But I encourage you to close your eyes and to think about, even for a second, connect with that feeling of disappointment, upsetness, of hate with that person. And maybe that person is yourself. Maybe that person is not someone else. Whether it was in kindergarten, elementary school, just think about that idea of transforming that sense and feeling, even of let go, the lack of letting go, that feeling of lack of forgiveness and forgetfulness, and see if you can let go. See if you can transform them into a kiss. Maybe doubtful, maybe with doubts at the beginning, because it's not easy to really, okay, let's forget about it. I mean, how many hours, how much time you're going to continue spending on this grudge? And the truth, and I ask you, and I ask myself, is who is being harmed? Who is being hurt? When you don't let go, when you're holding hatred, grudges, who is the one who's getting hurt? It's just yourself. The other person doesn't even know sometimes that you're still holding on that. Maybe they don't know. And you have been all these years just holding on something that is not worth it. Because time and health is something that nobody's going to give you back. Shoshana writes here a lot of things, and one of the things she says, forgive, not forget. I have a big discussion, Shoshana, on this the other day with my wife, Marcela. And I know that this is a saying. This is a saying that it's very common. Forgive, not forget. I will tell you something, Shoshana. I really think, after meditating so much on this, I think that when you don't forget, you don't forgive either. I know it's a good saying to say, right? Forgive but not forget. When you don't forget, you still somehow contaminated by the lack of forgiveness, because you don't want to let go. If you really let go, you forget. Easy? Oh. Believe me. And the reason I'm talking about this is because I had a big conversation with my wife today about a situation where I'm not letting go. I am not letting that thing go. And it seems that I can pretend that, yeah, I'm fine. And sometimes, like, the Kabbalah teacher, Javier Wolkoff, says, sometimes you have to putear, right? You have to insult, you have to let it go and let it out and process and say all the stories you want, but just let it go and say the truth, whatever it is, but just say it, and that will help you, to at least starting to get rid of those husks who don't allow you to really forgive and forget. So in the last minute, so think about it. It's just a thought. I'm not here to give you an answer. I go give you the answer or your answer, because each person is different. In brief therapy, we say that each person is the owner of their own story, meaning like there's no better person, than yourself to know really what's going on with you. And you're the best version of your story. So I can't really say this is a template, this is a sample. Each of us might be holding grudges for different things, and we might have all different ways of how to solve that. Well, I'm just suggesting today as a thought is just, it doesn't help. It doesn't help. Even for me talking to you today about this is releasing for me. It's kind of confirming, confirming myself that this is a process I need to go through too as well, right? And in any relationship, what the rabbi suggested, it is funny, is to, one of the things it helps is to put yourself in the situation of that you're about to punch that person. Let's say that the person is all tied here, and then you have all the chances to come, with a weapon, and you can come with the punches and the fists, and you can come with slapping, and you have all the opportunities to really do whatever you want with that person that hurts you, or you feel it hurt you, or you're still holding grudges. And then at that moment, I guess, you see? We know it's not easy. We know it's not easy, but that's what made also Jacob stronger, and made Jacob also bigger, and also he got granted the what? He got granted the higher level. And I want to tell you something just a little bit, because we have only 5 minutes left, and then voy a empezar en español a las 2:30. We'll start in Spanish in 5 minutes. We'll continue talking about this. Sonreír al enemigo. That means to smile to your enemy. And again, the worst enemy, and I continue saying because it's true, is your own self. We punish ourselves constantly. So until we don't start loving ourselves, I know, Gaston, you're repeating this all the time, and you hear this everywhere you go. It doesn't matter, because until we don't get it, the world will not become united, and the world will not become, healed, and none of us will become, even with health or anything. But it's just that I prefer to repeat this as many times, because I repeated it to myself, because I punish myself all the time too, and we all go through that, and we're our worst enemies. Now, this Tuesday I was taking a course. I've been taking a course for the last few months on Rav Kook's writings, and this one specifically that I took on Tuesday started a new series called "The Soul of the Jewish People: Spiritual Unity," and this is what's given instructed by Rabbi David Aryeh Ben David, and he this is from the organization Ayeka, amazing organization. If you can just go and surf in the website Ayeka, beautiful organization. So here's something when I think, what does it mean to become Israel? Not only that what we just talked about, not that he also step up to the next level. But what does it mean to become Israel, right? So Rav Kook says that the Jewish people, it's not that they, some people say, when we recite the blessings, saying all the time, the chosen people, and people get aggravated by this idea. And unfortunately, some of us, as Jewish people, we become or we transform ourselves, or we pretend that we are better, or we think that being the chosen people or the chosen nation, that is something for us to become more arrogant and say, yeah, we are better than you. Now, Rav Kook, who was very, very, very wise, a mystic, he says the following. He said, the great love with which we love our nation will not blind our eyes from criticizing any of its flaws. So he says that actually the Jewish people have their own special soul. It's interesting because the mystics always say, and the Arizal says that everything in life, animated, non-animated, have their own soul. So we all have our own soul, but also the animals have their own soul, even the rocks, and so some other mystics don't think the same way. But for Rav Kook, the Jewish nation has that special soul. Now, but listen why this special soul exists and why we might have been the chosen nation or the chosen people. Not to think that you're better, but here's what he says. First of all, it says that the great love with which we love our nation will not blind our eyes from criticizing any other flaws, right? So first you have to love yourself, even as a nation. Nevertheless, we find its essential self even after generous critique, free from any effect. So we can criticize, but it's important how you criticize people, how you criticize even other nations. Now, going to a different aspect of this, and with this we're going to kind of finish. God did a great kindness with the world by not bequeathing all the gifts and talents in one place, not in one person, and not in one people, not in one country, not in one generation, and not in one world. Rather, they are scattered throughout. So this is a nice, it's an interesting, quote. And then he continues saying, the soul of the Jewish people is fundamentally different from the soul of other people. Okay, good. Accept it. Okay, it's written in the Torah, it's written in the Bible. Some people accept it, some people, but why? Why is the important thing here? In every people, their inner essence is founded on their economic prosperity, stemming from the inner concern in the human heart to preserve and fortify one's physical life. And the more elevated spirit which animates and illuminates this point is reflected in their customs and aesthetic culture. This combination creates their national identity. Whereas for the Jewish people, the attribute of spirituality lies at the core of the nation's soul. The thirst for knowledge and emotional connection to God in its most complete and honest manner is the element which animates the Jewish people. More than any other people and culture, we cannot tolerate contradiction and spiritual disunity. Listen to this. The mystical attribute of peace and oneness not just with God, oneness also this way, is within us and its ideal form. So the mystical attribute of peace and oneness is within us and its ideal form. The soul, listen to this when this will finish, and for you to think, food for thoughts. The soul of Jewish people strives to heal the entire world. Again, the soul of the Jewish people strives to heal the entire world. So that's what means to become Israel. The soul of the Jewish people is interested to bring harmony to the whole world, not just to a Jew. So yes, according to Rav Kook, we do have a special soul. Israel, Am Israel. The children of Israel, we are children of Israel. We are given this special soul to give and bring harmony, right? Harmony is an interesting word because in Knesset Israel, right, which means the soul of the Jewish people, to bring harmony, to bring shalom, to bring peace. So just think about that you're giving this Torah, the light of the Torah, in this month now of Kislev, the month of light, the month of almost getting to Hanukkah. And think about what you're doing first. Are you bringing harmony and peace to a oneness to your own self, with God, with your family, with your people, with the entire world? We know as Jewish people we have a lot of issues, a lot of tzuras. So that's first. If we are not united as Jewish people, impossible to really go and bring harmony to the whole world. So we need to be at peace with us, within ourselves, with our close family, then with our community, then with our own brothers and sisters from the Jewish community, and then to the entire world. So let's learn that, because that's what Jacob acquired and was granted to become Israel. So I ask you, are you able to become a real Israel? Shabbat Shalom.